I'm Eric Loy, and welcome to Eric Loy Interviews. On this podcast, we talk with folks from the VTuber community on their channels, their talents, their stories, where they come from, and their plans for the future. Bunko Bun joins us. Hi.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing spectacular, thank you.
Wonderful. Please introduce yourself to everybody.
Hi, my name is Bunko Bun. I am a VTuber on YouTube. I don't stream, but I do upload videos on a monthly basis talking about my favorite manga, some manga one-shot roulettes, and just general degenerate manga enjoyment.
Now, I've seen the videos for that. To say that you like manga is an understatement.
Yes. Yeah, I've been reading popular ones, some underrated ones, and some that just shouldn't see the light of day.
Well, there's always when you're that much into any type of literature, no matter what, you're always going to find a few that don't quite meet up to expectations. But you also find a lot of hidden gems, and I imagine you
Yes.
found plenty of those.
Yeah, there's been quite a few on my various search terms that I like to deep dive into that have end up being some of my favorite manga. And when I discuss it with other manga enjoyers, they have no idea what I'm talking about. But I show them the pictures and the physical book, and I'm like, it does exist, I promise.
So when did you get started with manga? I mean, it's still kind of a niche type of reading to do. How did you get started, and what's drawn you to it?
So I would say it started on my journey into anime. So first, I started to watch a lot of anime during my teenage years, specifically during high school when I should have definitely been studying.
Well, you were studying the
and
anime.
Pardon?
You were just studying the anime, that's all.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
also media studies, I promise.
That's exactly.
It's art.
And
But sorry.
go ahead.
Yeah, I started with watching Dragon Ball, and that's just been why I'm so fixated on the franchise. And yeah, I started watching it, and then I watched all the movies, and then I played the video games, and I was like, "This is amazing!" And then I started to realize that other anime existed outside of the Dragon Ball as well. So yeah, it's mainly where it started.
Well, I've watched a few myself. I'm not a it would be really tough for me to catch up to you right now as far as that goes. But I've enjoyed a lot of the anime movies and a few of the shows. It's got to be kind of a specific type for me though to get into, being an old man and all. But the I kind of like the post-apocalyptic type stuff, you know.
Interesting.
Yeah. Actually, one of the first ones I watched all the way through was Cowboy Bebop.
Ah, that's a good choice.
Wow, and it was very good. And I watched a few other ones after that, and I'm not much up on the new ones. But for me, it's more action, obviously, and that type of stuff. But you've got a lot of them that kind of fall into the romantic category.
Yes. So my favorite genre of manga and anime consists within the slice of life, romance, comedy genre. So if you look on my AniList account, which is where I track all of my manga and anime consumption, you can tell that it's one of my favorite genres because it even states that my least favorite is thriller, with I would say 50% of them being within that manga, within the comedy, romance, and slice of life genres.
So what is your absolute? If I could write one now that hit all the buttons, what would you look at and say, okay, I like that, I like that. What would you find to be the perfect manga?
I always love manga that hit a hobby of some sort. So one of my favorite anime, which does have a manga adaptation or a manga equivalent, is a manga called an anime called Let's Make a Mug Too. So it's all about these high school girls making pottery together.
Okay.
But it also covers the journey of the history of pottery within that area and the reason why the main protagonist is so linked to the history of pottery within the area. I think just having a diverse cast of characters as well that bring different levels. So one might have more of a more spontaneous personality, where one might be more reserved. I think just having those different levels really helps balance out the whole cast and crew while going on this little creative adventure with one another.
Um, would you rather see them kind of stay away from certain tropes and certain well used types of characters, or does that help you with enjoying your anime and works?
There are some specific tropes that I've found myself dropping off a specific series from. So specifically, like any bratty characters who like to whine or complain quite a lot. That those tends to be the characters that I try and avoid because I feel like it almost brings down the wholesome environment that is currently being portrayed in that moment.
Right. I try to do that in life too. It also helps.
Yeah. Every time I hear someone complaining, I just walk the other direction. I can't deal with it, despite being British and we're known for complaining.
Yeah, but you've got it down to a science, you guys do. We learned
It's true.
over here from you guys.
If it was an Olympic sport, we would get gold every time. That and queuing. We're very good at queuing.
There you go. That's perfect. So when did you first find? Now you said kind of in high school, but what was the first one you watched, and what hooked you to that particular one?
So I think it's been like the first series that I watched must have been Dragon Ball Z. Though technically I did watch the first season of Avatar: The Last Airbender, but I don't know whether that classifies as anime because it was produced in more the western side of the world rather than the
Right.
eastern side of the world.
Yeah, was it kind of adapted too a little bit and kind of westernized a little?
Exactly,
Yeah.
and I think it has more Western tropes than it does tropes that you would see in more anime and manga, especially of that time as well. So they tend to hit more serious notes where stuff like Dragon Ball and Naruto was like, oh, let's all be friends, and nothing is an overarching impending doom at all.
Well, in Dragon Ball, kind of everything is overall impending doom, but you know they're pretty much going to win anyway.
Exactly, but with something like Avatar, you wasn't too sure what direction the plot was going to go into.
Right.
But yeah, with Dragon Ball, it's like, well, I know there's at least 200 episodes left, and Goku can't die yet. Otherwise, that would be really strange.
Yeah, it kind of gets roasted a little bit for its style, but people will keep watching it. I mean, if they want to know what happens, how does they've made that universe into the point where anything can literally happen, and
Exactly.
and they can make it make sense in a way.
Exactly.
We're going to bring somebody from the third timeline that is dead over here but is alive over here, and like, okay, fine.
Yeah, it's more tuning in just to see how they can go even further beyond, which is why I like to tune in as well, because they've already got all these transformations and all these parallel universes. And with the anime that's out, with the anime that's about to come out, it's all about turning Goku back into a younger child. So I'm curious to see what they do with that, because we haven't really seen much of young Goku except for in Dragon Ball GT and in the original Dragon Ball series as well.
Yeah. That'll mess everything up. People try to start figuring out that timeline, but really it's so well done for the most part. I mean, there's a few things here and there that people aren't particularly fond of, but it's so well done that folks will continue to watch no matter what, and they they enjoy it. They enjoy the characters. They enjoy, Mr. Satan. They enjoy
Mhm.
they, yeah, they enjoy all of them. They want to see what happens with them. And when somebody pops up from another timeline or another series, you can almost hear everybody like, "Oh, I remember them. They were in this episode of this series back then." It's pretty amazing.
Mhm.
Well,
Yeah, especially when characters have their redemption arc as well. It really gives you goosebumps, especially like I had that in the latest movie where Gohan had a redemption arc in Dragon Ball Super Superhero, the movie.
uh
Ridiculous name, I know, but great movie nonetheless. Um, but yeah, he had an excellent redemption arc that definitely sent shivers up my arms. It was fantastic.
So, I mean that's a one that pretty much everybody knows, even if they're not big anime fans. But for you, what right now sticks out as your, other than the Dragon Ball ones, what would be your go-to anime and go-to manga if you wanted to
Ooh.
watch just one?
My go-to, if it was comfort food,
Hmm.
hmm, that's a good question. I would say comfort food has to be something relatively wholesome. So, one series that I've recently read that I could happily just sit and reread again and again and again because of the wholesomeness that is delivered is a manga series called She Loves to Cook, She Loves to Eat. And it's all about these two protagonists. One is quite fond of baking food and making it, but never has enough mouths to feed.
Uh,
And then the other one, who is her neighbor, she's quite fond of just the act of eating food. So they sort of go pair and pair, oh, hand in hand together as a beautiful pair. It's not quite finished yet, but it's such a sweet story. I love it.
I need to move to that neighbor's place, the one that cooks. I can feel the other part pretty good, but yeah,
Oh,
and
likewise. I think I can. I try and bake something every week. Sometimes it's a success, and sometimes it's like maybe it's better just go straight in the bin. I'm not even
yeah,
gonna try it.
yeah. If I can't microwave it, it's probably not going to be done at this point in life. Um, have there been situations where you've maybe read the manga first, saw the anime, or the other way around, and were disappointed?
Hmm, that's a good question. One that sticks out to me, which is relatively controversial. Actually, now that I think about it, a couple.
Mm-hmm.
um, so my manga journey started quite recently.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been watching anime for quite a while, but
Right.
the act of reading manga only happened, I'd say, 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I literally just dived into the deep end.
Well.
uh, and I was reading quite a lot of modern series. So I was reading stuff like Demon Slayer. I was also reading some One Punch Man as well. And then I decided to go and have a look through some of the older series, so some stuff such as the Big Three.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I started to read Bleach, and in comparison to the pacing in some of the more modern series,
Right.
I personally felt like it didn't live up to the expectation that I had for it.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
which is a shame because it's so beloved in like the anime community, and even if you're not a big fan of anime in general, you see Bleach and it's so iconic. So I
Yeah.
felt sad that I couldn't be part of that hype.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, everybody's got their own tastes. Not everything's going to hit right all the time, but the I watched a little bit of Bleach, and it's for someone who doesn't. For me, it becomes really hard to get into something if you're jumping in the middle of an anime. I mean, I watch something and it has nice action, nice, obviously art, and
Mhm.
I'm like, I don't know the story here, and I'm completely lost.
Mm.
Um, I think it's a little tough where for me anyway, being a someone who likes to watch these things, is that I really need to watch it from the beginning. Do you have that
Yeah.
that thing too?
Yeah, so I found that when I was recommended JoJo's Bizarre Adventure
Hmm.
because a lot of people recommended to watch it from part 3 onwards,
Yeah.
but it felt a bit strange jumping in to the third part and not knowing the origin.
Yeah.
And I did watch a couple of episodes, and I realized that there were a few references here and there that I didn't quite understand. I felt like I was missing out. So I went back and watched the first 2 seasons, so part 1 and part 2.
Hmm.
And then I found out that Jonathan Joestar, who is in part 1, is hands down my favorite Joestar of any of the series that I have read and watched. So it's definitely worth watching it.
Hmm.
And then I found that going back into season 3, I saw all of those loose ends tied back together.
Hmm.
So I feel like it definitely it's definitely worth reading and watching stuff from the beginning, even if it doesn't quite live up to its presentation or its
Right.
what it's known for in like halfway through.
Yeah, reputation and that type of thing. And
That's the word that
yeah,
I was trying to
yeah,
figure out the word
yeah.
reputation.
But it didn't. It gives you that good back, that base to work from. Whereas it certainly would add to the enjoyment for me to know what's going on with it. Um,
Exactly. And I
it
would have never have known that Jonathan Joestar was my favorite Joestar if I hadn't have watched part 1.
it's really tough. It's tough for folks, I imagine, really to jump into the middle of that at all. Because if you watch it on, if it you just come across it on a television network, the odds of you hitting episode 1 are pretty slim.
Yes.
And it's going to be really. I remember, um, I actually did watch the very very Americanized version of Fist of the North Star.
Nice.
It was on Cinemax at like 10 o'clock in the evening, our local time here, every Friday night. But I was completely lost. I, I mean, first of all, they mangled it up pretty good anyway, and
Mm-hmm.
and showed kind of little bits and pieces of it. But yeah, I thought it was fun. I didn't know what was going on. Later on, I got a chance to read what it was all about. And like, oh, okay, that makes a little sense. Does that make it
So
hard? Does that make it hard? You think for uh, manga and anime to get as big a foothold as it really could be?
yeah, I do feel like it can be difficult to get into it, especially if people try and watch it on daytime TV and just waiting for those scheduled episodes to be released.
Hmm.
But I feel like that's sort of been resolved recently with a lot of the streaming services and the accessibility a lot of people have to just big bulk seasons.
Mm.
So you can go onto like Crunchyroll or Netflix, and you can. Thankfully, we live in an era where we can just binge 12 episodes right away, which makes it so much easier to try out new seasons as well. Like, if I wanted to try a brand new anime, I don't have to worry about accidentally jumping on to episode 4. I can watch
Yeah.
the first episode, sort of dip my toe in the water, and then if I don't like it, I can thankfully step away rather than guessing when the next episode's going to come out.
So would you rather have the English dub version, or would you rather have subtitles?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think it definitely depends on the anime itself,
Hmm.
and also the performance of all the voice actors.
Hmm.
If I find that one of the voices tend to be a little bit more goofy or definitely don't suit the scene, then I might swap it to the other one. But I
Yeah.
think the choice that gives the most drama and the most authenticity, I would often lean towards having it subtitled, just because there's always just that extra level of performance that you don't quite get in English subs or English voice actors.
Hmm.
Not to say they don't do a good job, but I don't know, there's something just it feels more real with the subtitles.
Right. Right. And
Mm.
sometimes I've noticed it just changes the story. Um, because sometimes and this is a weird language thing, I guess, that sometimes there just aren't the words in English to describe what was being said in Japanese.
Mm.
It just doesn't. So they have to change it up a little bit, and it doesn't quite sound right.
Yeah, and I find that the opposite happens as well. So
Mm.
I recently watched a series called Hokkaido Girls Are Super Adorable. Very niche, I know, but it's very, very good.
Yeah.
But they were using very current terminology like lit and mid,
Mm.
and it was very interesting hearing the comparison of the English word into Japanese language because they don't really have a word for mid. So
Yeah.
it was interesting hearing them trying to come up with their own version of that.
Sometimes they just use the word and just go on
It's
from
true.
there. Just throw mid right in the middle of it. Um, when did you get started doing this on the internet?
So I started this at the beginning of 2023.
Hmm.
So for a while, I've been subscribed to other manga tubers and anitubers, such as Alex, The Masked Man, the Trash Taste podcast.
Hmm.
Um, and I've always enjoyed the recommendations that they have and them talking so passionately about the anime and the manga that they've been reading recently.
Yeah.
Uh, and sometimes when I watch them on my TV, I usually have either a list open, ready to go, or any list ready to search all the new manga that they're talking about.
Right.
And I found that maybe half the time I would write down something that I would want to continue reading. So a thought sparked in my brain one day to say, what if I made something that I know that someone would write 10 out of 10 recommendations on? Like they would go and read every single recommendation,
Mm.
sort of make a niche corner of this
Hmm.
any tuber and manga tuber space. Because I also noticed that it's quite male dominated, and I always enjoy the challenge of breaking the mold.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay,
You you
let's see how this goes. You
you
know,
show us.
yeah, let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. Why did you choose a VTuber model setup?
So I know that I wanted to sort of keep my personal life quite private,
Hmm.
and I've seen that on some manga tubers, such as the Masked Man, they use an avatar to represent themselves in their videos.
Right.
Um, and I was thinking about maybe having a unique spin on that. And I can't draw,
Mm. Yeah.
nor can I 3D model. So I was like, okay, how can I make something interesting that can represent me or represent an artistic interpretation of me? Because I don't actually have blue hair in real life. Funnily enough, I don't have blue hair.
Well. Well.
um, yep, turns
Yeah.
out it's very hard to maintain.
Well, there he is. It's really, and we have people over here that definitely do have blue hair, and yeah, I imagine it does cost them a bit to keep that up.
Yeah.
So it was a chance for you to still express yourself while not quite putting yourself all the way out there.
Exactly, and I saw how much fun that some people like Iron Mouse had with changing her new outfit and
Hmm.
like revealing her new model. I saw how much fun she was having with that, and I was like, oh, I wonder if I could do that. And I realized that making a VTuber model is completely free,
Hmm.
especially if you're making a 3D model.
Hmm.
So there's some softwares out there where you can just make a 3D model yourself, add custom clothing in, or change the colors of pre-existing clothing, as well as like hair and makeup and stuff. So I thought this would be a perfect way to sort of represent me without ever having to worry. Oh, sorry, my cat meowed in the background.
It's okay. We've got 9 of them
um,
over here, so we're good.
um, but yeah, I thought it would be a nice way to sort of make myself look presentable while showcasing a artistic interpretation of myself without ever having to put on makeup or brush my hair in real life when I do record
Yeah.
videos as well. So I
Yeah.
thought this was a nice sort of double whammy of looking nice while still being lazy.
Kind of having to clean everything up around the computer room and all that stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. I'd never have to worry about makeup wipes after I'm done recording a video. I can just be like, oh, turn the VTuber off and I'm done.
Well, I mean, were you always somebody who wanted to, express themselves a bit, entertaining wise?
So I've dabbled in making YouTube videos in the past,
Hmm.
just like um tutorial videos here and there, and I've always found that I've got like a little creative spark. And always had a lot of fun making videos in Premiere Pro. So I thought this was a cool way to sort of combine my artistic skills while projecting all the degenerate thoughts that I have about specific manga series. Because I've got a lot that, and I've got some really weird takes.
Yeah, but they're
It's a nice way to exactly. It's a nice way to broadcast my thoughts and feelings without the without any negative repercussions in real life. I can walk past anyone and they'd never know that it was me who said those takes.
until now. Here's a picture. No, no, we don't have enough money for a research team for anything like that. So, no, but really, it's great that you get this chance to do this. What are you got? You got any plans for expansion? Doing other things with the channel?
um, well, I've only just started the channel. I feel like I'm quite new in the anime space, but
Hmm.
I have seen people make almost documentary levels of like length and in depth of a specific series.
Yeah.
And right now, I all my videos are like a collection of manga series that I go over, whether it's uh, random one shots that I find on a one shot roulette,
Hmm.
or just general manga series that I would recommend to people.
Hmm.
So I think it'd be interesting to do a deep dive on one specific series and then really flesh it out as to why people should go watch it, what maybe is the high level thought provoking uh, stuff that it wants the readers to think about. I think that might be interesting.
Yeah, yeah, I know. How has the response been for you? Has it been what you'd like? Has it been better than you thought? Uh, how how did that hit you when you first started putting these up?
So I was really nervous when I published my first video because I was like, oh, no one's going to watch it because I'm just some random person just spewing my thoughts about manga on the internet. I could be one of millions.
Well,
Um, but I think after I released my video of hidden gem romance manga, which is I'm still grateful that it's like my most viewed video, and it's still crazy that it hit 3,000 videos. It's I still can't get over it to this day. But my goal at the beginning of this year was just to hit 100 subscribers,
yeah,
and thanks to that video, it doubled my goal. So seeing that reception did sort of blow me away because I was just expecting just to almost have this as like a manga diary of sorts that I come back to now and then. But
right.
with people actually enjoying the content, it's been a lot more than I expected, but in a good way.
Yeah,
I've sort of
I can hear you smile when you say that. By the way, uh,
yeah, it's really bizarre because people actually tag me in things now, and I've seen someone already draw a fan art of my YouTube character, and
oh,
it's it's been really like not necessarily overwhelming, but it's a lot more than I expected it to be, uh, and it's been an utter blast, and I cannot wait to see what happens next.
well, they're coming back for you. You know, whether you want to say it or not, I'll say it for you. They're they're coming back because of the way you do these things, and that's got to be when you allow yourself to look at it that way. That's got to be something that's really heartening.
Yeah, and it's even just the small things, like if I follow another AniTuber or manga tuber on other social media platforms, and then I get a notification soon after to say that they followed me back. I'm like, oh, what, me? I'm just some silly little VTuber talking about manga. That's crazy.
Well, I tell you what, folks, you've got to check out what Bunko Bun's got to offer. We're going to have the links up in the description for this video, and we got to have you back because we got a lot more to talk about. Okay, we got
Yes,
there's a
of
lot
course.
there's so much more that we haven't really gotten into, and I can tell that I can just rely on you as an encyclopedia.
Oh, I've got a lot of manga under my belt. Good
Well,
recommendations for
now,
any genre.
well, folks, check out what Bunko Bun's got on the YouTube channel. and for recommendations of what you've already put up, and a lot more to come. And hopefully
Yes.
we'll get you back on here real soon.
Yeah, I look forward to it.
Thank you for listening to Eric Loy Interviews. Join us again next time when we talk to another member of the always interesting VTuber community.